The silence in the room is broken only by the echo of Mark Stevens' footsteps. He steps inside, his hand shaking ever so slightly as he scans the scene before him. A blood-soaked wall meets his gaze, with a chilling message written in crimson. The truth dies with me. The air is heavy, thick with tension. Mark's breath catches in his throat, heart pounding in his chest. This was no random crime. Whoever did this was sending a message, and the weight of that message lands squarely on Mark's shoulders. The victim, Adam Carter, a political insider with powerful ties, had been found dead in this very room. But the question lingers: who was the true target? Was Adam the victim? Or was it the truth itself that had been murdered? The flashing lights of the police cars outside reflect against the dark walls, casting erratic shadows that seem to move of their own accord. Mark closes his eyes, trying to steady himself. He knew this case would be tough, but this was something different, something darker. Each piece of evidence is a puzzle, but it's the kind of puzzle that might not have a solution. His gut twists. The deeper he digs, the more dangerous this will get. A sound, faint like a muffled thud, snaps him back to reality. He knows one thing. He's about to uncover secrets that could destroy everything. But where does he even begin? The room feels smaller as Mark continues to process what he's seeing. Each step feels heavier, as though the walls are closing in around him. The dim light from outside doesn't help. It only amplifies the eerie stillness. His mind races. Adam Carter had been involved in powerful political circles. But this was different. Mark instinctively knows it. The message on the wall wasn't just some twisted declaration. It was a warning. Whoever had orchestrated this was sending a signal, a warning to those who might dig too deep. He can't help but feel the weight of the situation. His gut tells him he's about to uncover something far more dangerous than a simple murder. The question keeps running through his mind: who benefits from Carter's death? Was this about politics, or was something else lurking beneath the surface? Mark's resolve begins to harden. He has to keep going, no matter where it leads. But there's a sense of foreboding that he can't shake. Something's out there, something dangerous. Mark's hands tremble as he picks up the scattered evidence, each piece a thread leading him into the heart of a web. He knows it's not just the crime itself that matters, it's what the crime represents. He's seen his fair share of dead bodies, but this one is different. The truth Carter had been hiding or trying to protect is the real key here. Mark's gut tells him that, but as he looks around the room again, something doesn't sit right. How did the killer know about Carter's involvement in the underground political deal? Was there someone else pulling the strings? A sense of dread creeps over him. If there's a larger conspiracy, what part does Mark play in it? The feeling in his chest tightens. A murder this well planned doesn't just happen overnight. Someone was expecting this investigation, and someone might be watching him right now. Mark's thoughts are interrupted as a muffled voice calls from outside the office door. He quickly rises, his hand reaching for his gun holster instinctively. It's Jane. She steps inside, her eyes searching the room, taking in the mess. Mark knows Jane well, too well. She's been his partner for years, but right now he feels the distance between them. The investigation has taken on a life of its own. Jane's voice breaks the silence. What are we dealing with here, Mark? The tension in the room grows as she crosses the threshold, her eyes locking onto the bloodied wall. Mark doesn't respond immediately. There's too much at stake. He knows Jane is in this just as deep as he is, but he can't shake the feeling that even she may be hiding something from him. Jane steps further into the room, brushing aside some papers. This isn't just a random murder, Mark, she says, her voice tinged with fear. Mark knows she's right. This is bigger than either of them. The case had just gone from a routine investigation to something that could bring down the city's entire political structure. But what really haunts Mark is the feeling that they are being watched. Somewhere, someone is keeping track of their every move. But who? His thoughts are interrupted as the phone rings. Mark looks at it, eyes narrowing. The truth is slipping further away, and with it, his grip on this investigation. The city street is alive with the hum of traffic, but Mark Stevens feels an unsettling tension that cuts through the noise. He's chasing a lead, one that could crack the case wide open, but it's slipping away. He hurries through the crowd, a sense of urgency pulling at his every step. Jane, his partner, is just behind him, her face set in determination. The sound of footsteps on wet pavement echoes as they race toward the alley where their informant is supposed to meet them. But as they turn the corner, the alley is empty. Mark's eyes scan the surroundings, heart pounding. He knows they've been made. The shadows seem to whisper, and the light from nearby street lamps casts an eerie glow. Suddenly, a car engine revs, cutting through the silence. Mark and Jane both freeze, turning in unison. There's a brief moment of stillness before the car speeds off into the night. "Too late," Mark mutters, frustration seeping into his voice. But Jane, ever the optimist, grabs his arm. "No, it's not over yet. We still have a chance." Mark's jaw clenches. They've been following the breadcrumbs of corruption. But now, the stakes are higher. The danger has escalated. Someone's watching their every move, and they need to move faster. Mark feels it now, like a weight settling on his chest. There's no turning back. The chase has slowed. Mark and Jane stand outside a quiet cafe, catching their breath, the weight of the evening settling in. Mark leans against the wall, his mind racing with unanswered questions. The night air is cold, and the warm light spilling from the cafe window offers a momentary escape from the tension. Jane sips her coffee, her fingers trembling slightly. "This doesn't feel right," she says, her voice low. "We're being led in circles." Mark stares down at the file in his hands, frustration building. They followed every lead, but each one seems to pull them deeper into a maze of lies. "Someone's toying with us, Jane. This isn't just about Carter. There's something bigger going on here." He looks at her, his eyes hardening. Jane doesn't respond immediately, but her gaze softens. It's clear she's just as invested in this case as he is, maybe more. They're not just chasing a killer. They're chasing a conspiracy. And with every step, the web of deception is tightening around them. But as they sit there in the quiet moment, something nags at the back of Mark's mind. It's not just the mystery of the case. It's the feeling that someone is watching them. The question lingers. Will they be the next ones to fall? Mark and Jane's search leads them to a hidden office deep in the city's underbelly. The air inside is thick with tension, the dim lighting casting long shadows over the walls. As they step inside, they are met with the presence of someone unexpected. Victor Blackwood, a powerful political figure whose name has been whispered in the shadows of corruption. His tall, imposing figure fills the room as he turns toward them. His cold eyes lock onto Mark's, a predatory smile curling on his lips. Well, Detective Stevens, Blackwood says, his voice smooth, dripping with disdain. "I didn't think you'd come this far, but now that you have, I suppose it's time we speak." There's a moment of silence as the weight of his words sinks in. Mark's instincts scream at him to back off, but he knows better than to show fear. Jane's hand subtly inches toward her gun, her body language tense. Blackwood steps closer, his presence suffocating. "You're playing a dangerous game," Blackwood continues, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "But I'm afraid you're too late. The pieces are already in motion. You'll never stop what's coming." His words hang in the air, heavy with threat. Mark knows that every word Blackwood speaks is calculated to break him. But he also knows one thing for sure. Blackwood's arrogance is his weakness, and that's exactly what Mark plans to exploit. The meeting with Blackwood ends and Mark and Jane find themselves back in the quiet of a safe house. Mark is pacing, his mind spinning. Jane, however, has a different approach. She's sitting quietly, reflecting on their conversation with Blackwood. "You heard him, didn't you?" Jane says softly, her voice cutting through the silence. "Right about one thing. We're not going to stop this, not without more than just a few pieces of evidence." Mark stops pacing, his eyes meeting hers. He knows she's right. Blackwood holds all the cards, but that's not going to stop him. An older, seasoned detective enters the room, a figure from Mark's past. Detective Thompson, a mentor who has seen it all. He looks at Mark with knowing eyes. "I know you're feeling the pressure, son, but you've got to remember it's not just about the crime. It's about how far you're willing to go to uncover the truth. Just be careful. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed." Mark feels the weight of Thompson's words. The stakes are higher now. What's at risk isn't just a career, it's everything. But Mark knows one thing for sure: there's no turning back now. Not after what he's seen. The weight of Thompson's words lingers in the room as Mark stands at the window, watching the rain fall in steady sheets. He knows what he has to do now. They can't afford to wait any longer. The conspiracy is much larger than they first realized, and Blackwood is just the tip of the iceberg. But as he looks out into the storm, a part of him hesitates. The cost of this investigation is becoming clear. People will get hurt. Jane approaches, her face determined. "Are we ready for this, Mark?" she asks, her voice steady, despite the fear creeping into her eyes. Mark looks at her, his resolve hardening. "We have no choice. It's now or never." He takes a deep breath, the rain pounding against the window like the ticking of a clock. They've crossed the point of no return, and now they'll face whatever comes next, together. The office is quiet, too quiet. Mark Stevens sits across from Jane Miller, his eyes fixed on the case file in front of him. Outside the window, the sky is darkening, the first few raindrops beginning to tap against the glass. Inside, the tension is palpable. They've made some progress, but something still doesn't feel right. Jane shifts in her chair, avoiding his gaze, her fingers playing with the edge of her coffee. "I've been thinking," Jane says, her voice unusually soft. "Maybe we're not looking at this from the right angle. There's more to this than just Carter's death." Mark looks up, his eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" Her eyes flicker briefly toward the door. I think we've missed something. Something bigger. Someone's pulling strings, and we're just pawns in their game." Mark feels a chill run down his spine, but he says nothing. Instead, he opens the file again, pretending to read, but the words blur as his mind races. There's an uneasy feeling creeping into the pit of his stomach. Jane's tone was too calm, too detached, and her words, they don't sit right with him. The question is, why is she telling him this now? Something isn't adding up. Mark and Jane have spent hours piecing together the case. The silence between them grows thick with unspoken words. They've been together long enough for Mark to know when something's wrong. He can see it in her face, the hesitation in her voice when she speaks, the way her eyes dart away too quickly. The calm they'd felt earlier now feels like an illusion. The weight of the case is pushing down on both of them, and the strain is evident. "It's just so much bigger than we thought, isn't it?" Jane says, her voice quiet. "It's like we're chasing shadows." Mark looks at her, his gaze softer than it's been in hours. "We'll get to the bottom of this, I promise." Her eyes meet his, a silent understanding passing between them. But something's off. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Mark knows she's hiding something. He wants to trust her, but the nagging feeling in the back of his mind won't go away. They've been partners for so long. Could she really be hiding something from him? Or is it just the pressure getting to them both? A small, almost imperceptible pause, and then Jane touches his hand, her fingers warm against his cold skin. "You're not alone in this, Mark," she whispers. "We'll get through it together." Mark nods, but inside something is beginning to crack, and he doesn't know if he can stop it. The door slams open, and in walks Victor Blackwood, his presence suffocating. Mark's body tenses instinctively as the man steps into the room, exuding control with every move. Jane stands up immediately, but there's something in her eyes, something Mark hasn't noticed before. A flicker of recognition. "Detective Stevens," Blackwood says, his voice smooth, almost friendly. "I've been waiting for this moment. I knew you'd come around eventually." He smiles, but it's cold, predatory. "You've been digging in places you shouldn't." Mark stands, his hand instinctively moving toward his holster. "What do you want, Blackwood?" he asks, his voice low, controlled, but inside his gut is screaming. Jane hasn't said a word. She stands beside Blackwood now, her expression unreadable. "I want you to stop," Blackwood continues. "You're too close to the truth, and you're not going to like what you find." Mark feels a chill at the words. He's heard of Blackwood's influence, but seeing it firsthand is another matter entirely. This man isn't just a politician. He's a puppet master, and Mark's already caught in his strings. The conversation turns sharply. Mark can't ignore the way Jane's eyes flicker toward Blackwood, her unease growing as the tension thickens. "You don't have to do this," Mark says, his voice low, hurt. "You're better than this, Jane," but her response is colder than he expects. "I never said I was better," she replies, her voice flat. And in that moment, everything changes. She steps toward Blackwood, her face blank, as though she's been waiting for this moment. Mark's heart stops as the realization hits. Jane isn't just involved. She's part of this. "You've been playing me from the start," Mark says, his voice barely above a whisper. The shock and betrayal are written on his face. But Jane only looks at him, her eyes soft, almost apologetic. "I didn't want this, Mark," she says quietly. "But it's too late now." In that instant, Mark understands. The person he trusted most is the one who betrayed him. And there's no going back. The silence between them is deafening. Mark's mind is racing, but his body feels numb. The room feels smaller now, as if the walls are closing in. His trust has been shattered, and with it, the fragile grip he had on the investigation. He steps back, his thoughts swirling. He can't believe it. Jane, his partner, the one person he thought he could rely on, has just turned on him. And what's worse, she's working with Blackwood. He turns to leave, his mind already racing toward the next step. The investigation isn't over. It can't be. But the path ahead is clouded with doubt. Who can he trust now? His mind flashes to the truth that Jane has just revealed. Everything he thought he knew is a lie. He can feel the darkness closing in. There's no escaping it. The only thing left to do is move forward. With a final glance back, Mark steps out into the rain, his resolve hardening. It's not over. Not yet. Dawn settles like dust on the safe house. The storm has passed, but silence rings. Mark Stevens sits by the window and counts the breaths between siren echoes. The room smells of wet wool and old coffee. He replays Jane Miller's words, each one a splinter. The file on Adam Carter lies open, pages curled from rain. Mark traces a redacted line and feels the lie beneath it. "She knew," Mark said, "and I missed it." The light climbs the wall, thin and gray, exposing smudged notes and a broken pen. Far traffic hums like a low warning. He orders his thoughts, one chart at a time. Motive, money. Money. Leverage. A name repeats in the margins like a drum. Victor Blackwood. A clipped receipt slides loose from the file. It holds a date, an address, and a code. The code matches the message on the wall. The address on the receipt pulls Mark back 2 years. The memory opens with a door chime and the smell of toner. Adam Carter laughs in a copy shop, easy and bright. Overlapping the present, Mark hears the same hum of printers. A man at the counter whispers, a name passed like a match. For Blackwood, Adam said, just policy drafts. The past tilts. The drafts were decoys. The real pages moved in locked envelopes at night. Present Mark stands in that shop now, the bell chiming again. Fluorescents buzz like bees. He sees a faint stamp on a sample page, the same code from the crime scene. Adam wanted out, Mark said, but the exit was sealed. The clerk flinches at the code. His eyes give up a corridor and back. The corridor leads to a box of courier slips. Every slip lists the same hidden hand. The box names a route under City Hall. Mark follows the echo of his own steps. Air turns metallic and thin. Detective Thompson waits in the service tunnel, coat damp, eyes steady. You finally looked where it hurts, Thompson said. Mark holds up the slips. You taught me to. The silence between them is heavier than the pipes. Mark hears his heartbeat slow then fast. He wants truth, but he fears the cut. Thompson points at a rusted hatch. That vault holds the story, Thompson said. And the bill. Mark hesitates, hand on the wheel. If I open it, I can't close it. Mark said. Thompson does not argue. The pause carries years of debt and care. Mark turns the wheel. The hatch cries open. Inside waits a ledger with 2 signatures. One is Blackwood. The other is a name he never wanted to see again. Victor Blackwood's voice arrives first, smooth on a speaker in the vault. There it is, Detective. Blackwood said. A system, not a sin. The ledger lists payments, threats, and traded votes. Mark reads a donor page and feels the floor tilt. People wanted stability, Blackwood said. I delivered it. You chase purity. I manage harm. The words sand his ribs raw. Mark flips to the signatures. Jane Miller's approval. Mark sits beside Blackwood's note. The room thins. She kept the doors from slamming, Blackwood said. So the city could breathe. Mark wants to argue, but doubt cracks his stance. Were they saving a city or selling its voice? Choose your myth, Blackwood said. Then call it justice. The vault light flickers. Mark closes the ledger with shaking hands. The real enemy is not a face. It is the net. Mark stands in the hush and lets the truth settle. The city hums above like a far ocean. He sees Adam Carter trying to leave and finding only locked halls. He sees Jane Miller holding doors open for a storm she could not stop. Shame presses, then lifts. So this was the truth all along, Mark said. It is simple and heavy. He cannot fix the net tonight, but he can cut a knot. He takes photos of the ledger, page by page. The sound is a metronome for a new vow. He pockets one slip with the origin account. Breath returns, slow and sure. I can't save the old case, Mark said, but I can stop the next one. He kills the light and listens to the echo fade. When he steps out, the path ahead is narrow and clear. Act 5 waits at the end of a locked door. Night breathes in the courthouse service wing, lights stuttering like a warning. Mark Stevens hears his own footsteps count down to impact. The air tastes of dust and hot wiring, a storm trapped in steel. He checks the phone photos of the ledger and steadies his hands. A door clanks 2 floors below, then silence, then a soft radio hiss. "End of the maze," Mark said, and he kills the ringer. He sees the red dot of a camera blink awake and tilt toward him. Victor Blackwood's security is here first, not the press and not the law. Shadows crawl along the cage stairs. Slow, patient, practiced. "Walk away," a voice said from the dark, calm as a metronome. Mark feels anger beat with fear and chooses to keep walking. Another light flickers, closer now, and a latch lifts behind the gate. A steel gate slides and Victor Blackwood steps through with two men. The floor hums under their weight like a live wire. "Stability over purity," Blackwood said, voice even, eyes bright. "You call it stability," Mark said. "I call it a price on every voice." One guard moves and Mark raises empty hands, then lowers them slow. Neon buzz skips, boots scrape, air tightens. "You break this machine," Blackwood said. "People starve while you feel clean." "People starve now," Mark said. "And you count." The words strike like elbows. In a narrow hall, short, sharp bruising, a baton lifts. Mark pivots. The blow smashes railing, sparks leaping. He drives a shoulder, loses breath, regains ground on instinct. The second guard lunges, and the fight spills toward the record's door. The record's door bursts open and Detective Thompson blocks the next swing. He absorbs it with his forearm, teeth clenched, coat flaring. "Aye, enough," Thompson said, voice gravel and breath. The guard hesitates. The pause is thin and precious. Mark sees blood on Thompson's sleeve blooming like rust. "You shouldn't be here," Mark said, heart stumbling. "Mentors go where mistakes start," Thompson said, and pushes him forward. Silence gathers in the eye of noise, a hollow between strikes. Thompson drives the baton arm wide, but a second hit finds his ribs. He drops to a knee and smiles like a door closing. "Finish it," Thompson said, and the words land heavy as iron. Mark understands the cost now, and it is a debt with his name. The guards fall back as Blackwood enters the circle of light. Rain drums the skylight. A fire alarm blinks without sound. "Choose the city," Blackwood said, hands open like a priest. Mark feels every breath scrape the ribs Thompson shielded. He draws out a single ledger slip and lifts it to the light. "Origin account," Mark said. "Your anchor, your chain." Blackwood smiles, serene, almost kind. "Cut that chain," Blackwood said, "and the roof caves on those below." "Let it cave on us," Mark said. "Not them." They move together, slow, decisive, shadow crossing shadow. Mark faints, palms the slip to the fire strobe, heat curling paper. He drives Blackwood back into the gate and slams the lock home. Security sirens climb, then falter, then die into a hard quiet. Thompson sits against the wall and breathes like a bellows at rest. Blackwood stares through the bars, calm, drained, mask gone. "This won't end," Blackwood said, soft enough to sound true. "It ends enough," Mark said, and he records the confession with steady hands. Boots and radios approach from the public side, not the private doors. For once the sound is rescue, not threat. Mark looks at Thompson and sees pride behind the pain. He feels the tremor leave his fingers, and the night seems wider. "Adam," Mark said, "we cut one knot." Rain softens to mist, and the strobe quits with a final blink. A new siren rises outside, and the city holds its breath for dawn. Dawn smooths the courthouse into quiet shapes, and the sirens are gone. Mark Stevens stands in the corridor where echoes used to live. The floor smells of wet steel and dust after rain. Light crawls across the wall, slow as breath returning. He hears the soft click of a cooling bulb, and nothing else. The gate where Victor Blackwood fell still, hums with old fear. A jacket lies folded where Detective Thompson rested his back. Not victory, Mark said. Just space to think. He gathers scattered notes and feels the weight leave, then return. The city outside exhales, traffic thin, birds late to the tune. He traces one burned edge of a ledger slip and stares through it. The truth stands, but a piece of his life does not. Mark sits on the stone steps where the rain has dried to salt. He watches a bus pass and counts the windows like old debts. Memory opens without knocking, bright and cruel. Adam Carter grins in a copy shop, handing over a box. The sound of the bell overlaps the present like a ghost. Mark tastes printer ozone and hears his own promise to push harder. A second memory arrives, softer at the edges. Jane Miller stands in a doorway and will not meet his eyes. Did we save anyone, Mark said, or just move the pain? A breeze lifts a loose page and sets it down with care. He lets the page go, and it does not fight him. Life continues, he thinks, but it will not sound the same. The ambulance doors close and reopen in Mark's mind, slower each time. Inside the quiet ward, Thompson breathes with a machine's calm rhythm. Sun bars the room in even lines, like a measured promise. Was it worth it? Mark said, and waits for the shape of an answer. Thompson